Welcome back, my kings. Today we'll be diving into Kengan Ashura Season 2, where we continue the first round of the tournament with some more brutal battles. The story begins with a Kengan tournament fight between Takeru Kyozan and Jun Sekibayashi. Jun is a professional wrestler, and Takeru is a sumo champ. Before the battle, Jun makes a funny face at Takeru to enrage him. Due to his pretty weird gesture, Takeru attacks him even before the match begins. When the match officially begins, Jun counterattacks with a powerful suplex. It's a mindset of Jun's to let opponents beat him until they become exhausted, at which point Jun will attack. As a result, he allows Takeru to beat him, and Takeru corners him with constant whacks. However, at the last second, Jun climbs up onto the wall and leaps from there onto Takeru, causing him to collapse, but he immediately gets up with even greater wrath. After which he attacks Jun and smashes him mercilessly with all his moves. He drenches him in blood and even dislocates his knee with a kick, but Jun doesn't waver and says Takeru to beat him even harder. Then he says to Takeru that he too was a fighter of his kind, who easily becomes enraged by his opponent's words. But his master told him that the greatest fighter is the one who can withstand all of his opponent's attacks. He provokes Takeru further, stating that sumo wrestlers are nothing more than a piece of shit. When Takeru hears this, he becomes enraged and spears Jun with raging vigor, the strongest attack used by sumo wrestlers. After this attack, he collapses to the ground unconscious. The audience and even Takeru believe he has won the fight, but Takeru gets up and uses a powerbomb technique. However, by strengthening his stomach, Jun reflected the damage, knocking Takeru down in a matter of seconds. He has been declared the victor of this fight. Cosmo Imai is also in the audience, and witnessing how Jun kept faith in himself until the end inspires him. On the other hand, Haruo Kono decides to become Jun's devout follower after witnessing this epic battle and his immense powers. Mokichi Robinson is still unconscious in the hospital, while Kizaburo Sawada is doing well but stays in the hospital. Lehito visits him there and inquires about the perpetrator so he can exact revenge. Next, we see Cosmo with Adam Dudley, with whom he recently engaged in combat, enjoying dinner in a restaurant. He feels pain in his abdomen where Adam had struck so hard, so he puts down his food and goes to the bathroom. Oma, on the other hand, is preparing for his battles, but this isn't a straightforward form of preparation. He has learned a unique method of self-training while sleeping from his mentor, Nico Takeda. He can mentally wrestle up to 8 wrestlers per night with this unique type of training. He has been practicing for around 14 years, and during that time, he has engaged in 40,000 mental battles with various wrestlers. Right now, Nico Takeda himself appears in his thoughts as a potential opponent. Oma employs Nico's style to defeat him. Then Nico Takeda informs him that the advance is only effective against small opponents, because it quickens the pace of combat while weakening the force of strikes and punches. Oma ultimately wakes up screaming. When Mr. Kazuo and his secretary witness Oma waking up terrified, they become shocked. His nose bleeds heavily, and Mr. Kazuo says him to go see a doctor, but he declines and goes to the bathroom. There, he began to vomit blood. His mouth, nose, and eyes are all heavily bleeding. Oma, however, bears all suffering and is steadfast in his determination to defeat Setsuna Kiryu first. The next fight is between Sayoro Izuka, an official of the Village of the Dawn, and Yashinari Kero, a representative of Ajiro Fisheries. Mr. Yoro Izuka, the president of the Village of the Dawn, has already rigged this battle in Saw's favor. Saw is completely ignorant of it. When the match begins, Saw strikes first, but Kero dodges and punches him hard. After that, Sawa attacks Kero in Lethway style, a particular fighting style in which the fighter attacks an opponent continuously without thinking of defense. Kero is also impactful, so he bears his attack and, in exchange, whacks his skull with all his powers in a fist attack, but it has no effect on Saw while Kero's own fingers dislocate. Kero fixes his fingers and attacks Saw once more, but this time Saw outmuscles him, and just as he is about to knock him out, Kero punches him, demonstrating how powerful he is. He then attacks Saw and starts beating him mercilessly while making fun of the fact that he is a dog owned by the Toyo Electric Company. They both then dash in the direction of one another for the final assault. Saw succeeds in kicking Kero in the abdomen, but Kero grabs his leg, lifts him into the air, and then bashes him on the ground. After that, Kero attacks him with a bear hug to finish things off, but Saw releases his final attack and uses his elbow to strike Kero in the neck, ultimately knocking him to the ground. He has been crowned the victor. Although the match was already fixed in Saw's favor, Kero gave him a hard time. The port where Kero works is in danger of being taken over, and Katsumi is the only one who can stop it, so Kero's company has fixed the match in Saw's favor. Following these battles, the Kengan Tournament's most anticipated battle takes place. The fight between Tochijai Destinyland's Nizu Masami and the formidable Rei Mikazuchi of Gold Pleasure Group. Nizu is a skilled, flexible, and potent Yakuza wrestler. On the other hand, Rei is a lightning-quick spirit user, which sets him apart from all other wrestlers. Additionally, to strengthen his mind for this battle, Rei spent the previous 9 days fasting from food and meditating. Nizu enters the ring for the fight in spectacular style while wearing a mask over his face, which he quickly destroys with a single kick to display his flexibility. Rei, on the other hand, enters without showing any intent. The referee begins the match, and Nizu attempts to strike first, but Rei uses his light-speed power to knock him down with a single blow before he notices. And so, in a matter of seconds, the fiercest battle concludes with Rei being crowned the victor. Destinyland's expenditures were dependent on this fight, and now that they have lost it, Destinyland will be handed over to Toyo Electric. After losing, Nizu is dejected, but Mikey comforts him. The following fight will feature Setsuna Kiryu, an official of the Koyo Academy Group, and Ren Nikaido, of the Byakuya News Company. Before the fight begins, Ren informs Kiryu that he has done some research on his fighting style, and has learned that it is Koi style. The sole purpose of this is to make Kiryu fear that his opponent is aware of his tactics. When the battle begins, Ren launches his first attack. He somehow succeeds in leaving Kiryu with a small scar, but Kiryu severely injures his shoulder in response. Ren can no longer move his shoulder, so he uses his secret ability, Strange Dragon, to distract his opponent by creating some scary illusions. After that, he punches Kiryu so hard in the stomach that he falls to the ground, but only after counterattacking Ren with a chest smash that left his mouth bleeding. Ren tries to attack Kiryu again, but he gets up even better and dodges all of his attacks. He strikes Ren with a strong blow, causing him to fall to the ground. At the very end, Kiryu quickly reaches behind Ren using his blink technique. There, he employs his Rakshasa Palm technique to attack his heart, knocking him to the ground in the process. He is declared the victor of this battle, while Ren is about to pass away from this final blow. Today is Lehito's battle day. Having previously lost to Oma and withdrawn from the Kengan tournament, Shigeru Kamada and Ivan Karev now work for Lehito at the SF Cold Storage Company. They advise him to withdraw from the competition and grant a walkover to his opponent. But he declines them because he considers it an insult and is ready to fight. Gensai Kuroki, a competitor from Motorhead Motors, is his opponent in his fight. He is a powerful assassin who uses the Kaiwan fighting style. Rei is telling his friends that the person Lehito has to fight is one of the most powerful assassins, similar to Agito Kano, the fighter of the Kengan Association. Both opponents appear in front of each other, and the battle is started by the referee. Lehito tries to strike first, but Gensei avoids his blow and thumps him to the ground in response. Without hurting him, Gensei offers him the chance to withdraw from the match. He claims that he does not want to waste his energy on him. Lehito thinks he is underestimating him, so he strikes again, this time wounding his chest with a razor-edge attack. Then Gensei gives him another opportunity to attack, and despite his best efforts, he is unable to even touch him. He keeps trying to punch him, but all of his attempts are ineffective. In the hospital, Kizaburo is also watching the fight on television. After too many unsuccessful attempts, Lehito finally succeeds in kicking Gensei, who is left speechless as a result. When Lehito sees this, he declares that he is the most powerful person and leaps to use the razor-edge attack once more. However, Before he can, Jensei uses his Kaiwan fighting style to impale his fingers into his right arm and left chest, severely wounding him. Kaiwan's fighting style is one in which the fighter's fingers become very strong through constant practice. As a result, he is able to severely injure Lehito with ease. Due to his continuous blood loss, Lehito collapses to the ground and tries to get back up. However, his eyesight becomes hazy as a result of persistent blood loss, and he can only perceive everything as moving slowly. He somehow manages to get to his feet and launches a super punch at Jensei as he jumps toward him. However, he now awakens in a hospital bed, severely injured. Naoya Okubo is sitting next to him. He inquires about the outcome of his fight, to which Naoya replies that he lost it at the decisive moment after taking a devastating punch from Jensei and falling down on the spot. As soon as Lehito leaves the room, he starts to cry as he recalls the promise he made to Kizaburo. The scene then shifts to Nogi Group's CEO Nogi Hideki, who sends assassins to his opponents to threaten them to give up before the fight, but his plan fails. It is now a fight between Sen Hatsumi of the Nogi Group and Takayuki Chiba of Yashitake Real Estate. Sen enters the ring of combat in a formal way, but Chiba makes a surprise appearance while dressed as an old guy. After that, Chiba takes off his robe and tells Sen that he is referred to as a man without a face. It's because he can transform into anyone he sees. Chiba transforms into another fighter in the audience to illustrate his abilities. Sen recognizes that, based on his posture, he must be a boxer, but the very next second, he alters his stance and transforms into a different wrestler. Confusing Senator, then Chiba reveals his true face to him and explains that he can precisely copy anyone's moves as well, but he must first see him. He has imitated nearly all of the moves used by wrestlers competing in the Kengan Tournament, which makes him the only wrestler in his league who is absolutely remarkable. To frighten Sen, Chiba pretends to be able to mimic wrestlers' signature moves while actually being unable to do so. The fight is started by the referee, and Chiba attacks Senator. He uses moves from various characters, but defeating Sen is not an easy task, and he dodges all of his attacks expertly. After just 25 seconds, Sen attacks Chiba with a single punch to the face, knocking him to the ground. The fight lasts only 26 seconds, making it one of the quickest battles in the Kengan Tournament. Sen has been crowned the victor of this match. As Nogi had sent assassins to threaten the opponent's president before the fight, he approaches Nogi and warns him that he knows he had sent assassins. He continues by saying that he will file a complaint against him and the assassin, and in exchange, they will both be expelled from the Kengan Association. After hearing this, Nogi mocks him and informs him that the assassin is also a member of the Kengan Association and that it is forbidden to engage in conflict with or chastise Kengan members. If he does, both he and his team will be blacklisted from the Kengan Tournament. He continues by saying that Sen assured him he would win the match, which is why he hasn't sent the assassins out again. After saying that, he lights up his cigar and walks away, smiling languidly. Next up in the tournament is a match between Yohei Bando, a representative of Joe Communications, and Hanafusa Hajime, a doctor from Taito University. For his crime, Bando received a death sentence 25 years ago. He was hanged for roughly 90 minutes, but was still alive. Since hanging is the only legal method of execution, he had been tried for death by hanging approximately 45 times, but he always managed to survive, proving his strength, or, as some might put it, his invincibility. The government sent him to the Kengan Tournament to give him some payback. As soon as the fight begins, Hajime hits Bando with an assault resembling the Chin Na. In this particular attack, the attacker targets the opponent's acupuncture points, and if successful, only one strong strike at an acupuncture point can cause the enemy to fall to the ground. Hajime, however, repeatedly strikes Bando's acupuncture points, but he never succeeds in striking the right point with sufficient force. After several failed attempts, he attacks Bando's neck in an attempt to knock him out, but his own fingers are severed, revealing how strong Bando's neck is and why he has survived all of his death executions. Now it is clear that Bando's neck is much more flexible than he initially thought. Seeing Hajime mystified, he demonstrates some more of his flexibility to horrify him. Hajime then launches his final attack, drawing the sword that he had crafted on his hands from the bones of his legs. Since bones are a part of the body, he is permitted to use these swords, and he once again attacks Bando. He continuously swings his sword at Bando, overwhelming him. Hajime stabs him in the stomach with his sword to knock him out completely. However, Bando suddenly knocks him down by striking his head and breaking his neck bones. As Hajime is now unconscious and appears to have passed away, Bando is announced as the winner. Robin's sister is devastated by Hajime's passing. In the meantime, their head coach approaches him and heals his neck bones, causing him to regain consciousness immediately. When Hajime regains consciousness, he informs his friends that even though Bando has won the battle, he will soon pass away because he stabbed him during the fight and his bones were embedded in poison. Exactly that occurs, and Bando passes away in agony. That's all for this one, Kings. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one, where we see the unbeatable Fang of Metsudo in action. As always, like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.